In Unit 6, you'll learn about how to write persuasively. So why should we learn to write persuasively? We do this to try to persuade the reader to agree with the writer's point of view. When we write persuasively, we need to first consider the style and register to use. Once we have chosen the appropriate style and register, we can also add rhetorical questions to make it more persuasive. So let's consider style and register. The first question you want to ask yourself is, who are your readers? Depending on who your readers are, you may need to choose different words to use to help them understand what you are trying to say and to persuade them to agree with you. Depending on your target reader, as well as the situation in which you are writing, you need to consider what kind of register to use. For example, in a letter to the editor, you may want to use a formal register, whereas you may want to use an informal tone when writing to a friend. Next, let's look at what rhetorical questions are. A rhetorical question is different from a normal question in that it answers itself, meaning it does not expect an answer from the reader or audience, and it is used to help persuade others. Let's look at how we can rewrite something into a rhetorical question. Here, you see the sentence, "Students cannot concentrate in class when they are texting their friends." You'll notice that the subject of the sentence, students, is in blue, and the modal verb can is in red. When you turn a statement into a rhetorical question, you need to reverse the order of the subject and the verb. If it is a WH question, you need to use a question word, like the word how here. And lastly, don't forget to add a question mark at the end. So now, let's examine some questions from Practice Paper, Paper 2, and see how you can write persuasively. Here are 2 questions from this unit's Practice Paper, Paper 2. For the first question, you are writing for an online youth magazine to give advice. You can assume that your readers will be teenagers, so no matter what advice you are trying to give, the style and register should still not be too formal. The second question asks you to write a letter to the editor of the school newspaper. This means that you will need to use a more formal register. Now, let's practice changing some statements to rhetorical questions that can be used for the 2 writing tasks we just saw. Here's a sentence giving a suggestion to the reader. One way to make this a rhetorical question that will help you persuade your reader to follow your suggestion is to ask, why not? So here, we are asking the reader, why not take a sample of your cooking round to your neighbors? Here's another one. This statement is talking about the responsibility of every student to imagine a better world. And one way to change this into a rhetorical question is to ask a yes-no question by inverting the subject-verb order like this. Isn't it every student's responsibility to imagine a better world? So now, it's your turn to practice. Take a look at this writing question and answer the questions below.